Okay, so I waited a week, like about a week on this story, and I did it for a specific reason. I wanted to see how this would play out and see if they would back down or not. Um, so as of today, apparently they didn't back down because on some of my accounts, well, I have two. On one, the dislikes have disappeared, and on another, on this one, you can see they're still there. And I asked my mom, they're disappeared on her account too. So it seems like something that might take a couple days to fully take effect. And I'm seeing all the theories on why is the dislike going away. So you have the people who are like, it's because of the left's fifis, it's because of Biden, it's because of the corporate media, or it's because of stigma. And the answer is sort of all of them. But going into this, I want to talk about something because we're going to have an interesting conflict show up where I think YouTube, if they continue down this route, they might have to pick a side. And you'll see what I mean in a second. They're going to have to pick a side. Because for this story, we're going to go back a little bit. I've been on YouTube. I've been using YouTube since 2005. I found this site when it was like barely had anybody here, and it was all just like 10 to 15 second videos in 144p. And I'm very disappointed. We are now at a point where we have a generation of people on here who don't remember stars, don't even remember Chad Warden or anything like that. So as you can clearly see here, this is wildly unpopular. And this comment is the closest I can come to explaining what this is in one point. This update is going to increase spam and fake giveaways, not to mention, on a side note, tech tutorials and anything involving downloads that could be viruses. And so, obviously, there's a lot of ways that this can be actually legitimately dangerous. YouTube doesn't give a fuck about that, and I know they've taken that into account. But anyway, be honest, this isn't for small creators. Yeah, they're claiming it's for small creators. This is for corporate government agencies that want to be able to lie and control what's liked. I like how before the dislike numbers are turned off today, it showed 8K likes and 33K dislikes. Pretty soon you will just have the 8K likes, which yes, will skew your perception. And YouTube will still ignore all the feedback in the video and all the other socials they posted on this. Right. So as you see here, they're claiming that it will help better protect our creators from harassment and reduce dislike attacks where people work to drive up the number of dislikes of creators' videos. Again, YouTube doesn't address why there could be mass dislikes. Now look, we're going to go back for a minute, okay? YouTube sold to Google, okay? YouTube was just some niche thing that the media, all those corporate entities thought was just a fad that will go away. If you remember the 90s and the early 90s, they thought the internet was a fad that was going to go away. That's how out of touch these people were and still are, because some of these same people are still in media right now. Right? Eventually, people on YouTube began getting into news media, and journalists began using YouTube, which was fine. But then the corporate media started noticing, remember, pre-internet, they could get away with lying about anything they wanted. So remember that time they said there was that attack, I forget where, in the Middle East, there was a bomb attack, and then it turned out to be like a gun show from Kentucky, and then within 30 minutes, everybody knew the media was lying? So imagine it's like 1970 and you heard that. You know who would know that was fake news? Probably the people only in the small area where that show was held. Now, with the internet and YouTube, and being able to show video of all this happening, you could call out media lies, like that. So they couldn't control the narrative anymore. People could find the full context of things the media was cutting out. So then you fast forward, all right? And you get the adpocalypse, I believe, in 2012. The media decides to run smear pieces on YouTube and go after their advertisers and scare them into cracking down on certain content. Also, for time reasons, I'm going to skip over the whole Viacom copyright lawsuit because I don't think it's that relevant to this story. So then you had the corporate media smearing YouTube for scaring their advertisers into removing mass demonetization, right? And then they tried to go after and they did the whole smears against PewDiePie because obviously that would be one of your first targets if you were trying to smear YouTube and scare people away from YouTube. Eventually, as time went on, you already had this. Then you had the second apocalypse later. Eventually, the front page went from creators to corporate news channels. There's a reason for that, right? YouTube knows they don't want to piss them off because they'll come after them, they'll smear them, they'll hurt their revenue, and YouTube already doesn't make money because Google subsidizes YouTube. YouTube is like a charity at this point. So now people were bringing up how YouTube became their tube or corporate tube. Okay, so now let's continue on this rabbit hole. If I am YouTube and I'm a business and I want to entice people who do not have an account on YouTube, I have to convince them to get an account on YouTube. What YouTube used to do before this is they would find the most viewed content with the highest ratings back when they had the rating system, and then after that it was the like to dislike ratio, and they would put that on the front page to entice people to create accounts. If you look at the front page now, and all you see is late night shows, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, etc. Right? You look at these videos, their like to dislike ratio is abysmal. It is like massive dislikes. And a lot of people look at a video, and if they see massive dislikes, they click off of it immediately. They're like, okay, this is probably garbage. So then you go, why would YouTube put content people don't like on the front page? Well, corporate blackmail. And also now that they have common interests, like politically, that as well. Now other people are saying it's because of Biden. I think that's part of it. Definitely is because Biden has mass dislikes, and they act like it's a dislike campaign. Because you got to keep in mind, I've always said the left are very culty. They really can't picture that they're this unpopular. Like shitlibs, they legitimately think they're extremely popular, and their ideas are popular. Here's the thing: shitlibs don't care about anything. They're very superficial. All they care about is how they look. Remember, shitlibs are not leftists. They are different. They are corporate establishment neoliberals. They do whatever the media tells them to do. They don't pay attention to politics. They don't. They just repeat what they hear on TV. This is why you hear so many shitlibs keep saying about Kyle Rittenhouse cross state lines. If I hear that phrase one more goddamn time, I swear to God, they don't know what that means or what actually happened. They heard the TV tell them that, and they repeat it. Now, what does this have to do with Biden? The shitlibs never liked Biden, and they never paid attention to any political stuff going on. So once Biden wins, once their guy wins, they're gone. They don't care anymore. So who's the rest of the people who are interested in what Biden has to say? Mostly the people who are actually politically initiated, which is going to be either the more old school Democrats, and for the majority of the right. They're going to pay attention to what Biden's doing because they hate him. Which is why you see these mass dislikes and very low view count, because the shitlibs don't care anymore. They got their guy in, they don't care. He can do whatever they want and they'll praise it. As long as the corporate media is on his side, the shitlibs are on his side. It doesn't matter. The reason you see Biden have so many dislikes is because the people who pay attention to politics despise him. So obviously, since most of these corporations love Biden, and a lot of the establishment, neoliberals love Biden, they are going to also protect him as well as the corporate media, which is basically a more broader representation of their side. Also, who complains about getting mass disliked? It's not so much the right. The right usually goes on mass disliking campaigns. I notice it's mostly them that actually do that. But it's mostly the left that complains when they get mass disliked. They tend to set themselves up in a way where they go, disagreeing with my point proves my point, right? They kind of set you up like that. You know, like a lot of woke media where they make this like absolute garbage that's not engaging or interesting, and it's just preachy and unlikable. And then when it doesn't sell, they blame everybody else. They'll say it's white supremacy and racism and sexism, and they'll be like, or you're just trash at what you do. So that's what I meant by it's a combination of all of those things. However, this is also going to do a lot of damage. So, even YouTube's co-founder is not okay with this. Because he points out, rightfully so, most online content is hot garbage. And a rating system helps people sort through stuff and save their time. But again, they care about their corporate interests and their political interests, and removing it will benefit them more than it'll hurt everybody else. And this is where I got to. It's going to get interesting. YouTube's going to have to take a side. Possibly this goes down a rabbit hole where you have a lot of people who either are going to end up with scam videos, downloading viruses, wasting their time on tech tutorials, and getting very angry, and start getting fed up and wanting to leave the platform, and YouTube having to serve their corporate interests. And I think those might, if they keep this going, those two might come into conflict. So even Jad Karim, the one of the original founders of YouTube, holy crap, I remember this video when it was barely like 8 months old or something. I remember when I saw a video say 1 year ago, I'm like, damn, that's a long time ago. Now I see uploaded 17 years ago, and you're like, what? Anyway, he's condemned the platform's removal of public dislike counts on videos, suggesting that the change will lead to YouTube's decline. It will, because a lot of people will waste time. And here's the thing. The like to dislike ratio doesn't affect the front page. We already know. Money affects the front page. The corporate interests affect the front page. So again, they're going to kill their popularity by promoting unpopular corporate crap, right? I don't go to YouTube to get another version of cable TV, right? I don't want free cable TV. I'm on YouTube either for funny stuff or independent political news or political journalism. So he points out what I point out. He says, why would YouTube make this universally disliked change? There is a reason, but it's not a good one, and one that will not be publicly disclosed. The ability to easily and quickly identify bad content is an essential feature of a user-generated content platform, because not all user-generated content is good. Yeah, like I said, most of it is hot garbage. Also, I like highly disliked videos. You know why? Because the comment sections are gold. Those are fun. We're going to talk about how we got that message out. But interestingly, I just wanted to point that out. A lot of people are doing another thing, which is where everybody who dislikes it now is commenting dislike, and it's clogging up the comment section. So you have to scroll a lot to get legitimate comments, which I thought was a very interesting way to screw over YouTube. Although it's sort of going to more so mess up the creator's feed, but I mean, what are you going to do? If you even go here and look at this video, look at this. Right? It's truly disgusting YouTube would do such a horrible thing. And it's just this comment everywhere. Look at all that. And I think that's where it's heading. I think they might back down. They might have to do this. Either they're gonna disable comments or disable like to dislike on corporate media and just hide it, or YouTube is going to seriously fuck themselves over, right? All the small people, it doesn't affect small people. If people get, you know, fucking people what, mass dislike what I say, I'm just gonna be like, well, why are you boring me? I'm right. So let's see how this goes. I think this is going to be interesting. My prediction is they'll back down. Not right away, but they will. They're going to back down. And they might do something where it's just going to apply to, like, corporate media, maybe. We'll see. I think that's going to be too blatant. I think they kind of want to have plausible deniability, but we'll see. We'll see how this goes. This is gonna be interesting.